So while we know the Hikurangi subduction zone is definitely capable of causing a tsunami, Kelly would like to know, can the Alpine Fault cause tsunami events? So William, perhaps you could answer that one. And Caroline or Tom, you might like to talk about it a little bit in terms of the AF8 scenario.
Yes. So the Alpine Fault earthquake, well, we've mentioned that usually it's the movement of the seabed that causes a tsunami. So with the Alpine Fault, the fault is on land and the movement on the fault is horizontal, mostly horizontal. So there's not a lot of vertical movement. So Alpine Fault earthquake is unlikely to directly cause a tsunami. However, there are a few other things we should be careful about. There's a phenomenon called seiching. So if you have a lake or a fjord or a harbor, and that gets moved horizontally backwards and forwards by the earthquake shaking, that can produce waves. And that was much noted in 1855 in Wellington Harbour, where the seiching effect flooded some of the quaysides. So that's definitely something that could happen, for instance, in some of the high country lakes in an Alpine Fault scenario. Another way that an Alpine Fault earthquake could indirectly cause tsunamis is by causing landsliding. So we've seen, for instance, in the Kaikoura earthquake, all the landslides that were caused by the shaking in that event. And if some of those landslides end up in water bodies, that can cause localized tsunamis. There's a historical example from 1929 with a Buller earthquake that caused a slump on the coast, on the west coast. And 20 kilometers away at Karamea, there was a tsunami recorded at about 2.5 meters high. So that slump produced a tsunami that spread along that coast. So that kind of effect can indirectly cause a tsunami. The other thing to be aware of is that, we could see with the Kaikoura earthquake that we had many different faults involved. So we tend to assume that the Alpine Fault, maybe this is not be interested in other people's thoughts on how good an assumption this is, but the Alpine Fault on its own may not directly produce deformation of the seabed, but there are other faults nearby, for instance, off the west coast that are offshore that can produce tsunamis. So could we be definitely sure that those faults would not be rupturing at the same time as the Alpine Fault? I think that's an open question. So there's a few good reasons for the possibility of tsunami waves or seiching waves after an Alpine Fault earthquake, but not directly caused by movement on the Alpine Fault itself.
Fantastic answer, William, and I don't have much more to add apart from to say that if anyone happens to be around the Southern Alps when this earthquake happens, definitely move away from lake bodies and rivers for that reason, because you just never know if there might have been a rockfall up the lake that you're not aware of that might send a wave down the lake, for example, into Queenstown, or that seiching effect, that sloshing around of the water around the margin of lakes. So yeah, great answer. Thanks, William.